Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. US President Donald Trump on Friday voiced frustration with Iran's stance in nuclear negotiations as US staff left Israel due to safety concerns. Donald Trump said he was not happy with the current negotiations with Iran over Tehran's nuclear program, emphasizing that he opposes any level of uranium enrichment that could potentially contribute to the development of a nuclear weapon, an objective Iran continues to deny pursuing.
They should make a deal, but they don't want to quite go far enough, and it's too bad. Look, we've been playing with them for 47 years, and that's a long time. They've been blowing the legs off our people, blowing the face off our people, the arms. They've been knocking out ships one by one. But every month there's something else, so you can't put up with it too long. We're not happy with the negotiation. They just don't want to. They don't want to say the key words, we're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They have to say, we're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And they just can't quite get there. They want to enrich a little bit. You don't have to enrich when you have that much oil. So I'm not happy with the negotiation.
But Oman, which mediated the Geneva talks, offered a much rosier picture and said that Iran had agreed to zero stockpiling of any uranium. Omani Foreign Minister Saeed Badr Hamad Al Busaidi met with US Vice President J.D. Vance on Friday following the latest rounds of US-Iran talks. Trump has ordered the biggest military buildup in decades in West Asia, with the world's largest aircraft carrier. The USS Gerald R. Ford left port near the Greek island of Crete on Thursday, bound for shores near Haifa in northern Israel, where it is expected to arrive on Friday. The US has also sent around a dozen F-22 fighter jets to Israel. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio will travel to Israel for talks on Iran on Monday. US Department of State issued a notice that Rubio's trip will run from 2nd March to 3rd and that its focus will be on relations with Iran and Lebanon, as well as implementing Trump's 20-point plan for Gaza. In a rare break from decades of precedent, the top US diplomat will travel without reporters on his plane. Rubio also said on Friday he has designated Iran as a state sponsor of wrongful detention and that Iranian regime must stop taking hostages and release all Americans unjustly detained in Iran. And US Embassy announced it was allowing non-emergency government personnel and family members to leave Israel due to safety risk. Italy's foreign ministry also urged its citizens to leave Iran and advised extreme caution across the West Asia, citing persistently unstable security conditions. It advised Italian nationals in Israel to exercise maximum caution and remain vigilant. Britain said it was moving diplomatic staff out of Tel Aviv, where most countries maintain embassies, to another location in the country as a precautionary measure. France on Friday reiterated its advice to nationals not to travel to Israel, Jerusalem and the West Bank because of the security situation in Iran. Germany, in a new advisory, said it urgently discouraged travel to Israel. China, a main partner of Tehran, called on its citizens to evacuate Iran as soon as possible. All right, DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us for more on this story. Hi Akshay, the US President has in fact publicly expressed unhappiness with Iran nuclear negotiations. Tell us, what exactly is Washington objecting to at this stage, and how is Iran in fact responding to these concerns?
Well, Abhishek, if you look at the entire set of negotiations that have taken place in the last few days, especially, is that while the Omani leadership that was the mediator in this entire peace talk is confident that the talks are going smooth, that the talks are in fact progressing, and there are going to be 2 more rounds of talks in the weeks to come. But as we have rightly showed in our news report, that they are painting rather a rosy picture, that things are going quite well. However, the reality remains grim. In fact, if you listen to the statement by the US President, he still remains unhappy as far as the outcome of the negotiations are concerned. So he wants in black and white that Iran claims in front of the world and guarantees that it will not be going ahead with any kind of nuclear enrichment, in any kind of development of nuclear bombs. And what he assumes is that since Iran has a lot of crude oil, it doesn't require nuclear energy sources as well. And that perhaps is the reason why he's saying that enrichment, nuclear enrichment that is also used in the nuclear reactors to produce energy should be produced by Iran, because it can also be used for a nuclear bomb that Iran has been wanting to develop. So while the talks are progressing, the caution remains. Iran, though it is, has not directly responded yet as far as these statements of Donald Trump are concerned, but the tensions remain, and especially given the fact that US itself has called for evacuation of all the non-emergency staff from Israel, China calling for their personnel, their nationals from Iran, many other countries following the suit as well. India even has suggested that as the flights are available right now, people should be evacuating, these regions, especially Iran. So the tensions still remain, and the situation is grim. Even though the talks are taking place, and perhaps the next two round of talks are going to be the only hope in averting any kind of major crisis in the region, because where we are headed right now is a total collapse of the particular region we are talking about, the West Asian countries, if a large-scale war breaks out in that part, because an aircraft carrier in the region, several stealth fighter jets are an indication that Israel, while the US is going ahead with the talks, it remains, it is in fact prepared for an entire build-up to take a massive military action against Iran if other talks fail through. So the situation remains grim, and we are right now, we can say that the situation is like a tinderbox there in that part of the region, and any wrong move can trigger a devastating war that can impact the entire world.
Exactly. But Akshay, also Marco Rubio is scheduled to visit Israel in a couple of days on Monday. How significant is this visit in the context of the Iran negotiations and the wider West Asia security situation?
Well, it is important because Marco Rubio going there can be seen in both manners. By Iran, it can be seen as a preparation of further build-up and military action. But US claims that it is just prepared to take any course of action required to stop Iran from developing any kind of nuclear weapon. So the situation remains grim, and Marco Rubio's visit to Israel will be seen both optimistically and pessimistically by the countries in the region. Some are expecting that his arrival to Israel will be a sign that no immediate, but the situation remains tense.
All right, situation remains grim, and the next few days will be very crucial. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your updates on this story, Akshay.